put it right in leadership's lap. I'm going to ask for a show of hands. How many here think we have a crisis in leadership in this country? Raise your hands proudly. It is looming it's becoming epic, okay? That creates follows errors all the way around because now we have an employee longevity and loyalty, or we want to maybe throw the word engagement out there. We know we have a crisis in people not feeling as if they belong. You know, and then track that back to our famous millennials. You know, they change a job every 1 or 2 years. How can you blame them? Because longevity and keeping people don't stay in places very long because why should they? Right over here. Inadequate technology. Resource allocation that starts with leadership. And then lack of skilled talent. Where does that come from? It goes back over here. So we create a vicious cycle. And this is a cycle that's spiraling downward. Okay? So what's the ROI of good leadership? So why should you care? McKinsey came out and it says, what's the impact of good leadership? We know that it has consistently shown that good leadership will become an important driver of shareholder returns. So if I were to sit here and say, just because it's a nice thing to do, you'd walk out of here and go, that's really neat. But so what? I go back home, I tell my boss I get shot. If you can track it back to shareholder value and shareholder returns and financial results, then it starts to make an impact. So what are we going to do with this? What happens when organizations get it right? According to DDI, 20% higher than average leadership quality and bench strength. Leadership quality, better decision making, bench strength, business resiliency, business agility. You can now deploy people on demand. Human resource allocation, it all starts to go together. 28% better at more critical positions that can be filled immediately. Now we have all either lived with or know of companies where it's taken 6 months to find a CFO. Or when a sales manager leaves, we don't even fill that job, and then we watch salespeople go willy-nilly. Or a CIO, a key spot in an organization stays unfilled, and they say because we can't find it. Oh, well, let's go look at our HR team, or our recruiting policies, or what we're doing. The faster you can fill, these are critical positions. They're critical for a reason. If they stay open, there's got to be an impact on business. When they get it right, 2.3 times more likely to outperform other companies in financial results, on financial metrics. So that's why we do it. Organizational consequences, increased organizational agility, increased business resiliency, and increased ability to maximize market or competitive opportunities. Okay? So this isn't just a nice to have anymore. This is something that we have to begin to do.
So I guess my challenge is when I work with a business owner who is financially successful in the company. The business is doing well, it's growing, it's gaining profitability, but I know as consultants that certain things can improve that double, like it's a very hard and to realize that just changing the leadership style, improving the culture, improving the motivation can make those differences because they're fine with.
Seems fine now, why bother? And see, what happens is we talk about employee motivation. I don't get it. I'm the business owner, that's money. Everything seems fine now, because we focus on the here and the now. If we could start to translate it back into what motivation does is it engages people, it increases their productivity. Their productivity allows the organization to do this, which translates back to the bottom line. And that's why when things are going well, one of the things we learned on Wall Street is when things are going well, that's when you invest. You keep, because now you're prepared for the cycle when things won't go well. And now you've got a tooled up organization that is going to get over that next hurdle. So when business is coming in through the transom, we simply put the blinkers on and say everything is okay. So it's teaching ourselves as consultants to think about it in business terms. And then to go back in and use research that's out there to help support it. But you just say motivation, to me that's squishy and I don't see the return on it. You talk about leadership. I talk about leadership in terms of risk management, scarce resource deployment, not having the right people in the right role. You always take a salesman because that's easy. Take a salesperson, a sales manager out. Salespeople don't perform. The dial of productivity starts to move southward. That translates straight back into a bottom line. And so to get their attention, we're in it to grow. We're in it to make more money. People don't put up with running a business just so that they can stay status quo. So you start to do it in terms of market and what the competition is doing and translate it into numbers. And that's what we haven't done when we talk about human capital. We haven't translated it back into the numbers. So we could talk about different strategies on how to do that, but I'm getting a sign back here that says I better move on. Okay, but hold on, because we'll be here later on to talk about it as well. Okay, CEO challenges, what they said is leaders are not ready. Flat out said, leaders aren't ready. Okay, 52% of the executives say their current leadership is not skilled to effectively manage talent. Yikerinos. That is a really strong point. However, it gets worse. When leaders were asked themselves to do a self-assessment regarding leadership behaviors, never more than 50% say they were very prepared to handle general leadership issues. When it came to human capital challenges, only 27% said that they are ready and prepared to take on leadership challenges. And when it came to HR, they do know what's going on, everybody. They said only 9% of their leaders were equipped to handle the leadership challenges going forward. No matter what way you cut this slide, there is not a good story here. You know, the story is way under in general, about the 38 to 40% category if you average this out. Okay? So, how many here, now we're going to talk about VUCA world. How many here are familiar with VUCA? Show your hands. I was one of you until about 6 weeks ago. Okay? We now have the VUCA vortex. Do we love VUCA? We love VUCA. So we are leading in a world today that needs to be VUCA ready. So what the heck is VUCA? So DDI used the VUCA scale to come up with a way to evaluate leaders. So what is VUCA? You are not going to forget this from this point on. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Okay? What's this another word for? Change. We are now in a world where change has ramped up to such a high level that we don't have the answers. We don't have the blueprint anymore. The learning and development courses that we used to send people to aren't relative in this new world. I love this. Change management, you know. You happen to be sitting in the manager desk. You can manage well. Whoosh, we throw change on top of you. He goes, change? I don't know VUCA. I don't even know what a VUCA is. And so what is happening is there's a whole new layer out there that we have to be VUCA ready to handle. And so what is it? VUCA is, volatility is anticipating, reacting to the nature and speed of change, which we know is getting bigger and bigger. Maintain uncertainty is dealing with lack of predictability. Complexity is dealing through complexity, chaos, and confusion. I mean, how many of your people sit there and go, we don't know what's coming next? And this is a hard one, ambiguity, how to lead and manage without clear direction or certainty. And typical management has managed in a routine environment with processes in place that are embedded to create predictable outcomes. All of a sudden, we live in a world that's not predictable, and we ask our managers to just deal with it. Let's add on a whole nother dimension called the VUCA dimension and start to figure out how people behave in this. Going back here to another funnel that we use, we have the leadership role and we have knowledge roles. Bottom of the funnel are your early people, top of the funnel are your high-level people. These VUCA dimensions sit right over here. And if your organization is dealing with VUCA, and it is not part of what these people are responsible to deliver against, or they don't have the capability, we're seeing big chasms now in regular management and this new VUCA management that's out there. It will have a ripple effect down here, but it really lives right in the space over here. So think about your organization and is it VUCA ready? And here's what the responses said. Only 41% of the respondents say their people can handle volatility, 37% uncertainty, 36% complexity, and down to ambiguity. This is scary stuff here. 31%. How do you take ambiguity and place a bet when you don't have a defined guarantee that it's going to work? And we take people who are process-oriented and routine-oriented and we throw them into this space. That is cruel. That is malfeasance. Okay. Do I feel passionate about this? Okay. Leaders, VUCA results. I'm sorry, I am passionate about this. Leaders, VUCA results. Okay, 4 different levels in the organization responded to this. At the overall organizational level, 25% say that their people are not VUCA capable. And that's fine. We can teach people to be VUCA capable, but don't think it's just going to happen. At the C-suite, they said only 19% of their leaders are very capable. Well, then what the heck are you doing about it? You know, if you don't have a plan to make people VUCA ready, and you say only 19%, that's malfeasance. Okay, leader self-evaluation. Here's a funny one. 65% said that they were either highly confident or very confident. Now, does that not suggest some sort of disconnect? When the overall in the C-suite says nay, and my self-image says yay, I'd say, everybody, you better be testing that VUCA dimension. Because what I think I'm doing, and here's why change initiatives fail 70% of the time. What I think I'm doing it right, but I may not be doing right against a standard or a benchmark that's been set out there. And it is teachable. But left on their own, people kind of get there helter-skelter. And then our HR folks said they only think 40% of the people are VUCA ready. So VUCA is the future. It's coming. And that doesn't mean that, you know, people have to be ready now, but my goodness, we better have a plan and we create permafrost and we embed it in our organizations. So, you know, what's the business result to this? Organizations with high VUCA capability are 3.5 times more likely to have strong leadership strength, bench strength, and meet future challenges. Because if they are VUCA ready, they have to have the supporting structures to make that happen. And how it leads to financial results. Top 20% of organizations performing well financially are 3 times more likely to have VUCA-ready leaders. So if you can be a VUCA leader, you've got marketability out there. If you are running an organization, you better start to prepare people for this because it's going to have big impact.